Can Suzanne hear us?
I'm sorry?
Can you, okay, I just wanted to know if you could hear us, so.
I can hear you.
I'm off camera, so I don't think you can see me.
Yeah, I can barely, I can see your hand. Do we have anyone else from the board?
No, Josh is out of town and Pat is sick.
So,
You have enough of quorum?
yes, we have a quorum. So, is Suzanne, are you gonna act as chair?
Yes, I
Okay.
am, even though I'm.
It's okay, you can do it.
Yeah. So it is 6 PM, so let's open the public hearing and the regular meeting of the Bardstown Historical Review Board. And let me, it's 6 PM there. Let me just tell you what's going to happen a little bit. We're going to have an executive session. We are going to have a regular meeting, a public meeting, a public hearing, and
Two public hearings, right?
Mhm.
One, but.
Two matters. Yeah.
sorry?
There's two matters for the public hearing.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But we're gonna have a public hearing. We're gonna have a regular hearing. We're gonna have an executive session, and so let's call the regular meeting to order, and the public hearing we can call to order. And we have two items to start with for the public hearing. One is COA 22-113. That is the request for approval of demolition of part of structure at 105 West Muir Avenue. And I think we need to have somebody come forward.
And I'll need to have you guys sworn in, so when you come up here, just raise your right hand. And anyone speaking about this particular property, if you could raise your right hand as well in the audience, if you're gonna speak during the public hearing. Repeat after me. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge? If so, swear I do.
I do.
So, let's begin with this application for demolition, but just because I'd like to have a pretty clear record of where we are and how we got here, if you don't mind, let me just run over a couple of things, and I'll give you an opportunity to tell me where I'm mistaken on this. But in January of this year, you applied for a number of you had several applications, I think 6 of them, or 7. And they ranged from landscaping to changing the porch, light fixtures, to changing the pitch of the roof. I did listen to the hearing, and I recalled your board was very empathetic about everything that we discussed, and we discussed everything at length. We approved everything but a request for a change in the pitch of the roof. We were very clear that we just believed that we were not in a position to be able to overrule the regulation on the roof. And then in the normal course of business, we sent this forward to City Council. City Council, as they always do, reviewed our recommendations, used their discretion, and followed the approval of everything we approved, and they also approved the roof line. So in essence, everything that you had asked for was approved. And then, and I will be clear that there were a couple of mentions of a demolition, which was not in the application of that meeting. And so, and now we are at the position of reviewing your request for demolition because, in fact, there's very little left of this house. It has been pretty much de facto demolished. And I think nobody on the board certainly wants to have anything like this happen again, and maybe understand a little bit more about this. My understanding from your application is that Mr. Portis says that this was done without your knowledge or approval by your contractor. Am I correct? Is that what happened?
That's not exactly correct. Do you want to just read what I wrote, or want me to explain it?
Just go ahead and explain.
Why don't you read what you wrote?
Why don't you guys read what I wrote first?
Okay. I mean, I do understand that there was a lot of damage. Okay.
Well, I will, let me say this first too. We're only talking about the rear exterior wall, correct? And I was given permission to take off the roof, the ceiling joists, because that was necessary for the second floor that was approved.
Okay.
And the windows were approved. So you said that the house had been, what were your words?
De facto. I mean, you have to agree that there's very little left of the house.
There was only one thing that this is about though, it's the rear exterior wall. Everything else was approved by the board.
Right. Right.
Okay, so I just want to be clear, you made it sound like I tore the whole house down. I did everything I was supposed to do except the rear wall was taken down. I had guys that were demoing, I was not able to be on site. I told them the exterior wall could not come down, but there's pictures in here of what it looked like.
Yeah.
And there is no way this exterior wall was safe to have a second floor living space on it, as well as the dormer supported on it. My guys thought they were doing me a favor by taking it down completely because they didn't fully understand they weren't allowed, and it was so bad that it needed to be done. So generally, I would be proud of them for not wasting my time with this decision and doing what they thought was best. But in this scenario, it was the wrong outcome.
Yeah. Okay, well, this, as I said, is a good lesson for us, and we will be.
One other thing that's in this report that shows is that these 2x4 walls aren't even existing. The majority of the studs in that rear wall were not original to the house. Now, obviously, it'd be much better if I was in the situation where I could be explaining this with them still in place. I don't even have the best pictures to show. Luckily, these pictures were taken by my guys. Thankfully, I have some, but the 2x4s that are shown in the picture are not original to the house, and you can tell that by the kind of the rounded edges of the 2x4. The printouts aren't in color. It's a little bit easier to tell in a colored picture, but so.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I just wanna, understand so that we don't, where we were and where we are, and so that we can maybe not go down this road the next time on something else. So here we are, looking at the demo and the application for demolition, and is there? I think I'm a little. I'm reading this.
And Mr., I don't want to jump in, but Mr. Porteous, am I understanding correctly that as you pointed out, these pictures are not in color, but I'm looking at like page 22, where I kind of, is this of your application, and I don't know if you have them numbered that way, but it's a picture of the, sort of the.
Oh, because of all the other stuff.
Anyway, I mean, is the issue, that may be the one I'm looking at? Yes.
Yes.
What are we seeing in this picture?
Okay, yeah,
Is
that's,
it this one that just?
Yes, Susan, I think it's the top of page, on the COA, it's page 22, there's two pictures on that page.
yeah, the picture you're showing is what it looks like now.
Yes.
But the picture that she's talking about is two prior to that.
Okay,
And so I guess my question is this is before it was them, is this like the contractor took this and sent this to you and said, what am I supposed to do? Where did this come from? I guess what I'm
Yes.
trying to understand.
Yes,
Or the sub or whoever.
right, yeah. This was the state it was in, this is like the van board and the lower bottom plate and several studs in that wall. I just put termite damage slash rot because I never had a chance to determine what it was. I'm assuming actually that it's more rot than termite damage, based on these studs. But the studs themselves, what I was commenting about, with the studs not being original to the house had the true like 2x4s that are 2 inches by 4 inches in dimension. Very squared edges, more of a rough sawn type material. These are a smooth, than plain, which is a more modern stud, only 3.5 inches wide and 1.5 inches thick. So that was why I put in the report that the originals, or that these were not the original studs to the house. But I think either way, we both can see that in the picture, that's not going to be structurally sound to have, because this wall will be supporting some living space in the second floor and a dormer above it. So,
Well, I don't think anybody's saying you couldn't replace that stud.
Well,
You know,
and the van board and,
right.
yeah, that's what was told to them is any studs that are rotten need to come out and be replaced, but that the wall needed to be.
Right, the issue, I guess, is just taking out the whole wall.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as soon as I got over there, it was actually happened during deer season. My wife's family owns a butcher shop here in town, and during deer season, I have to go help there. So I wasn't even able to take phone calls. On a lunch break, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I went over to see what they were texting me about, and the wall was out. And I was like, I said, we can't take the wall out, we need to piece it back together. But at that point in time, it was in the dumpster, so it was, and honestly, he was like, wouldn't you, I mean, like, there was no statement that, like, what was I supposed to do? I mean, you wanted me to make it right, didn't you? And I'm like, yes, I couldn't take it all the way out. So, and I knew I was somewhat in the wrong for doing that, and I actually pulled the guys off after that, and that's why it was left with 3 walls and not, I feel like if I was trying to like hurry up and put it back together and get it wrapped up, that I could have maybe got away with it, but I knew that I was not allowed to do that, so I just left it there to see what we were gonna do about it. And then it didn't take long before there was a stop work order on the house.
Mr. Porteous, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like your sworn testimony is that this was so rotted. I mean, obviously none of us were able to see it in person.
Yeah.
That your opinion is that there was no way to repair it. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
I wish there was more pictures, but there was rot on the floor. There's another, very next picture is on down the wall about another 3 feet. And actually more like 5 feet, where there's more rot on the bottom plate. That van board was almost completely rotted out. You can even see the sill plate, is pretty rotten out to the point where you can like stick your finger through it. This exterior wall, when I bought the property, had no siding on it. That's why I think it was more water damage. It probably, I mean,
There's no, as we stated before, there's no overhang, there's no gutters.
yeah, no overhang, no
On all
gutters.
sides,
I
except
think,
the front porch.
according to the neighbor Daryl Hawkins, he thought there was a little bit of fire damage to that back wall at one point in time, is why the siding was ripped off. So, I mean, really, the biggest mistake I should have made was asked to have this wall done from the beginning. But with drywall on one side and sheeting on the other, you don't know how bad it is until it gets ripped off. And that all happened in a matter of a day. So, but I knew the floor was rotten.
Sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, let me ask you. So basically, you wanna demo that wall, and everything else you're going to build back the way you got the authorization before? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that wall had some changes to it. The door was moving, windows were moving. And the way I understood it, it wasn't as big a deal because it was a rear wall. So, I mean, really, I think this comes down to the wall was not structurally safe, and we were changing multiple things in it anyway. So that's why they thought it was the best way to accomplish this. I mean, the wall is gone now, so I think we just have to, that's why I really don't, I mean, I'm fine to answer questions, but I don't know where we're at as far as
Right.
what our options are, so.
That was my,
I
that
don't
was
either.
what I was gonna get to.
Yeah.
Where we are at is trying to decide what we're voting on. And the voting
Yeah.
on is the taking down of the last wall, and then you will go back and you will build as you were authorized to do before.
Well, I think Suzanne, you know, I don't wanna, this is why I don't come to your all's meetings, so I don't wanna boss anybody around, but I think that would be something we would take up when we take it up in the regular meeting, right? As far as the public hearing, I think the only testimony we need on the record is whether the demolition was needed, what was done, am I right about that? So, I think those are all very appropriate questions to ask Mr. Harden and Mr. Porteous in once we close the public hearing.
Yeah, I guess just to be perfectly clear on my stance as the general contractor and knowledge of housing, had this not been the historic board and it was on my job site and I walked up and saw this wall, it would all be gone. I mean, in all honesty, this whole house would have been taken down to the foundation, but obviously that's not possible. But it was more difficult for me to do the changes that I wanted, not taking these walls down, than it would have been taking it down. But I mean, I'm definitely not trying to say that I didn't know I could take it down. I knew that the wall was not supposed to come down. So,
I wanted to say from the zoning end that you need to be real careful because anything beyond 70% of replacement value would be considered a new structure. So we've got to be very careful when these things happen, that you could also fall into a non-conforming structure issue of anything beyond 70%, we would consider a new structure.
yeah, so
So-
I don't know how that 70% is determined, but
The replacement value of the home. So we can talk about that later, but
Okay.
we need to be careful as HRB, which is also part of the zoning regulations, that this could also, because it was a grandfathered structure, you could run into an issue with
Okay.
that grandfathered status, so.
yeah, I mean, I guess though, that, like I said at the very beginning, from my perspective, the only thing that was taken out that wasn't supposed to be taken out is this exterior wall. The rest of it was necessary for the project, but that what you're saying, I'm totally unaware of, and that's kind of a different area, definitely not my area of specialty.
And I want to be clear, I don't think that anyone thinks that what else you've done was not approved, right? I mean, you were approved to replace the windows with something appropriate, you were approved by city council to, alter the roof, right? It's just the concern is about this back wall, right? I mean, I think I don't want to.
Well, and I think we're trying to preserve the historic part of our community. And I think when you drive by now, I mean, perhaps it would have been better to have come for demo, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But now it just looks like there's just not much left.
When's the last time you approved demos, Susan?
We have.
We approved a partial demo.
When you take windows out of the house and you take the roof off
I
the
don't
house,
think we
so
need
Yeah.
to discuss what
With the
Right.
anything else.
Suzanne? Okay. Gentlemen, they'll call you back. There's another matter for the public hearing, and then you'll be the first, in the regular meeting, the first two, applications.
Thank you.
So next will be Mr. and Mrs. Reed. Yes, and let me swear you guys in, please, or anyone else that'll be speaking on this particular thing, please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you, and again, I'm behind you and I apologize. my understanding from your application is that you are seeking to demolish partially the building at 114 West Broadway. Walls and part of the roof will be removed for a new addition. I think that there are a number of issues to ask you about, and one of them is the wall being removed will have to be reinforced. Now, I don't understand this at all, so I'm just asking you to tell me, us, what this is about.
Okay, I'm happy to. I'm Dan Grimm, I'm the project architect. So the project is more additive than a demolition. With any addition, there's going to be some demolition. Every single addition I've ever designed, there's some limited form of demolition, whether you take a door out or a window out or take the siding out, or you have some limited amount of demolition. In this case, I guess the amount of demolition we have that we're doing sort of kicks into this review process where you review the demolition. So what we're doing is on the back side of the house is a two-story house as it presents itself to the street. Behind the house is a one-story kitchen addition that's original, we think. The foundation is original. On the back right side is a lean-to shed addition that we think was probably a porch at one point that was filled in. And that is the area in question we're talking about. The eave line of that particular part of the house is much lower. And it's inconsistent with the eave line of the kitchen, which is a higher eave line. They're both one stories, but the eave line is much lower at this bedroom side. And the ceiling's much lower inside. It's like an 8-foot ceiling, and the main house is 10.5-foot ceilings. So clearly it was done at some point, not original. This was done, and we're trying to remedy that by creating an addition that sort of swallows up that lean-to piece, and it establishes an eave line that is consistent with the kitchen, which is basically consistent with the front porch. So it's about 20 inches higher, 24 inches taller. And then we're going to build a roof over top of that is pretty much going to mimic the roof that's there now. It's just a taller roof. And when we do that, we're just going to come in and take out the little lean-to roof underneath it that we would not need anymore because we're basically building over top of it. So it's when, as it presents itself from the side yard and from the backyard, you're not really going to see it from the front. As it presents itself, it'll simply look like an addition that's been put onto the house. Much of the additions in the back part of the house, but there is the one on the right involves the demolition of the roof and the wall that's the exterior, but when we add on, it's going to be an interior wall, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit complicated, but it's mainly an addition, a one-story addition that will involve demolition, and the demolition kicks into this review. If that makes sense.
So that little lean-to structure you're calling it there, you're basically taking that off, and then you're just, that whole corner is gonna get filled up with a new addition.
Yeah, we're just kind of like, so the original one is here, and we're kind of coming over top of it, like a shell over top of it. Yeah.
It was a porch at one time, the concrete block,
Yeah.
don't match the rest of the house, it's modern concrete block at that point.
The 1950 Sanborn map approves that too. It shows it was a covered porch at one point.
Yes.
And then it's been enclosed.
Then when Lee's made it a beauty shop in the 70s and stuff, it was late 70s, she enclosed it and put a beauty shop and made that part of the house, which the master bedroom called for it somewhere at that point, they redid it. At that point, she came in and put beauty bows and everything in on that side in the late 70s, early 80s.
So
And
the age of that.
yeah, so it's less, you
Less
know,
than 50 years.
that was the area that was turned into that enclosed.
But that's not coming off the house. We're not taking anything off the house.
No.
It's all going to be part of the house. It's just expanding a little bit. It's
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I understood what area we were talking about, because I went over and looked at it today. Y'all might have thought you had a stalker.
I'll make sure one of the people working on the house next to it.
But, yeah, and that's what I thought it was, read the description and everything, so I just want to make sure.
So it's really the demolition of the porch.
Well, it's not a porch anymore. I mean, the back porch, yes, that little addition on the back porch is pulled off. But it's mainly, I think the area in question is the roof and the wall of that area that sits right behind the two-story part of the house. If you look at the rear elevation picture, you can see, if you look at the rear elevation, you can see the right side, and you can look at the eave line of that and see how much higher it is than the left side, and see how the shed just continues and comes down. It really comes down quite low. It's not, it's not a contributing roof line in any way.
It even has, I'm a plumbing contractor, 43 years, it even has the new materials that you use, PEX, PVC, the rest of the house, a lot of it's cast iron, copper, but that side of the house is all PVCs and water on, stuff like that. Currently, right now, that area is our master bathroom that he's talking about.
Are there any other comments or questions at this point? Well, Audrey, if I understand correctly, then we will just excuse for this portion and come back for the regular meeting,
Yes,
for the vote, is that right?
that is correct.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So unless there's any other, comments or witnesses for these two demolition applications, then we would close the public hearing, I think, Suzanne, at this time. And return to
Thank you.
regular,
Yeah, at this point, at 7:27.
6:27.
Oh, sorry. I'm actually in a different time zone. 6:27, we'll close this portion and open the regular portion of the Historic Review Board meeting, where we have, I believe, 7 things on the agenda.
Yeah, we do. So we'll handle the minutes first, Susan.
Okay, sorry. So we have read the November 15th, 2022 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we had a special meeting minutes for November 15th, 2022. Do I have a motion for the approval of those minutes?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So approved. All right, now, a moment that you've been waiting for, COA 22-113.
That's you guys again. You're back in action.
Yeah, we're back at the regular meeting. $115, I apologize.
It's 113. 13.
Right. I can only hear muttering. So, 113, and this, again, this is for approval of the demolition of part of structure of 105 West Muir Avenue. That part of the structure is the back wall. Do we need to, in this part of the meeting, describe exactly what we're seeking to demolish?
And I think whoever makes the motion, if they're making a motion to approve it, would, as clearly as possible, lay out what the approval is for, but I think it's fairly, I hate to
Yeah.
say it's fairly clear, because lawyers make things fairly unclear, but I think if we discuss the rear wall of the structure at 105 West Muir Avenue, I like to think we would all know what we're talking about.
Right, I just didn't know whether we had to make another record. So having discussed this in the public hearing, is there any more discussion by the board, any more questions?
Well, yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to say, so we're here to approve something that has already been done. Or deny something that has already been done, and it seems it doesn't really matter what we do, the wall is gone.
Yeah, that is correct, and so the options really are build it back the way it was, or approve the demolition, and I think, it's pretty clear. So, is there a motion? Do I hear a motion for the approval of demolition? For the denial?
No, I'm just trying to read this off again.
So, well, let's talk about it now. So if we denied it, what happens? So
Well, I think
I guess I'm looking
okay.
to others in the room for advice on that. I mean, exactly what are our options?
choices,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're being asked to make a decision and we don't really know what
Well,
choices we have.
Unfortunately, it's sort of a beg forgiveness as opposed to ask permission situation, right? I think it's a little difficult to talk about 113 without talking about 114 sort of at the same time. The way I understand the applications, and I haven't looked at them in a ton of detail again, but in essence, 114 is in essence a new construction because we have the demolition is approved. But as far as I understand the application, the footprint of the house remains the same, and in theory, everything about the project, am I correct, is the same as far as the placement of the windows, there were multiple COAs obviously that addressed this, moving the porch to be centered, if I'm remembering this correctly.
But that's in the front, right?
Yeah.
Correct, but I believe
I don't need to interrupt
Well,
you
there
a
were-
little bit.
No, you're fine, Mr. Cooper.
There are changes in the back, yeah.
That were approved, the windows, and moving a door to a different location. So, to the extent that I think to your point, the rear wall is gone, right? We can't put it back. The dumpster's gone that it was in, So, I mean, if you deny it, in essence, we can't put the wall historically back, I think we're in essence giving, forgiveness, I guess, as opposed to permission. To continue the project to the T the way that it was approved, with the understanding that the wall would be built back to the same specification, I know your 2x4 versus whatever, but the exterior of the wall would look as it is to be approved. Jan?
So, yeah, I think that what you're doing is you're creating a record as to what happened with the project. There's no way around you have to approve the demo to even consider the new construction. So I think it's putting the applicant on the record as to what happened, and you all have to judge if that was, kind of think of it, if the wall was actually there still when you were making that judgment call. So at this point, I think you have to discuss 113 with 114, and I would recommend that you do that and go ahead.
And I think that,
and go ahead and
Yeah.
consider 114 as well. But I think you're clearly, at this point, you're gonna have to approve it. It's having the applicant on the record as to what happened, and having that clearly on the record.
Well,
And then not setting a precedent to let this happen again, because the record has been set that his subcontractor did it without his knowledge. So,
and I would like to say, if I were here, because now I guess they're being compared, which that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with me, but I do think it's at least worth pointing out that if I was here asking for this before this was done like I should be, I would be asking to replace this rear wall for the sake of safety and the integrity of the house. As a contractor, I wouldn't feel right just, putting plywood over this wall and covering it up like I didn't see all this damage that was there. It sounds to me like they're asking to demo a wall, but they're actually making it bigger. They're not demoing the wall because of damage to the existing wall.
Well,
The
and
testimony is all-
as far as like, I mean, it's sort of like apples to oranges. I mean, I won't get into the, but I mean,
Okay,
as far as,
well,
for,
so I guess-
hang on,
Yeah.
as far as for your application, right? I think that's what we need to focus on and talk about. So I
Yes.
think we've taken testimony in the public hearing about the rot, the decay, you provided pictures, right?
Yes.
I will say that to your credit, I appreciate that when you got the stop work order, that you stopped work, right, which doesn't always happen, so thank you for that. I think that it would be helpful, I think, for the members of the board to possibly discuss the plans in 114 so that you can understand, assuming the demolition is approved, exactly what is going back in the place of the wall that's gone. I mean, is that fair?
And really, no more testimony should be
Yeah.
taken on the demo, because we've already closed the public.
Right, I mean, we've had the fact, so I mean, as far as Suzanne, I guess if you want to direct their attention to discuss anything in 114, I know you can't interrupt us very well because you're a little
Do you want me
delayed.
to make a motion
Let
on
me
one
just
thirteen?
make a couple of comments, and they are, what was just said, by Jan and Audrey. This is, for me, the detail is to find out how we don't end up here again some other way, and what could the board do in the future more proactively. So that took place in the public hearing, and now here we are. And so I am happy to discuss COA 22-114,
Well,
just so that we have, just so that we have an understanding of what would happen if 113 is approved. And are there are there any changes in what you want to do now if everything is approved with what we approved before, notwithstanding the wall?
Do you understand the question, Luke?
No, I didn't understand the
Is there
question.
anything in 114 that's changed from, that we approved previously?
I don't understand what you mean.
So I think, Luke, what she's,
113, 114.
so sorry, 113, so let me make it clear as I can, and I'm talking loud, not because I'm yelling at you, but so that we can make sure Suzanne can hear.
Sure.
So 113 is your request to demolish the wall. 114 is what they're calling new construction because it's the plans of what's going back there. So I think what the question that is being asked is, let's assume that the wall, there was no issue with the wall was gonna stay there, there was no problem with the wall. Is what you're asking them to approve in 114 exactly the same as the plans that you already brought to them, with the exception being that now this wall's gone, it's gotta be put back?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, to me, had I put this wall back together and continued on this project, you guys would not know any difference because it would be done exactly to plan. There was absolutely
and
no
you're not
change.
changing anything in 114.
That's new construction.
We're calling it new construction because it's the plans that you have for this
Yeah.
structure, but
It has to fall under the guidelines. of
Yes, but
construction.
everything will look the exact same. If you really wanted to get super technical, the only thing different will be, it will be slightly thinner, although if that were a problem, I could shim it out, but the new studs, it will.
and when you say thinner, you're talking about toward the interior. The exterior wall is not
It'll
gonna
be in
look
the exact
different
same
too.
place. There was, if you look at the picture of the front of the house, there's a siding that remains there, and I'm gonna be siding over top of it, but obviously I won't have that siding, so it would be like, whatever the thickness of that siding is thinner.
And
So-
your door and window placement will be as you've shown on the elevation.
Exactly as planned. Yeah, headers were gonna have to move no matter what, and it was gonna get resheeted no matter what, so.
Okay, so there's no modifications to
Right.
where the windows, the doors, the
Yeah,
siding, all
The
those.
siding was already in place, the siding will be the same, the windows were approved, the windows will be the same, everything else remains.
Everything that we had approved originally is the same.
Yes, if I was here at the time that I should have been, before the wall was taken down, I would just be asking for the damage to get removed, I guess. And the extensiveness of the damage is more than 50% of the wall, so it would be, in my opinion, the best structurally to remove the wall and build it properly.
Suzanne, did that answer your question, I hope?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I think that we could vote on the demolition application now, if you all are satisfied on the board.
Hang on. All right, I will make a motion, on COA 22-113, to demolish the back wall of the property at 105 West Muir Avenue due to damage, and it was done without your knowledge at the time. You need to add to that? Forces that be?
There's a second, I think, on the floor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the application for demolition has been approved. And for the structure at 105 West Muir Avenue, as set forth in the documents that were submitted, the photographs and the testimony. So we could then discuss, or not discuss, but vote on COA 22-114 at the same property, and this is what we call new construction, following the demolition approval. So is there further discussion on this, or are we ready to vote?
I think we're ready to vote, and you're okay with it?
Yeah, and it is gonna be exactly what it was, what's already been approved, right?
Absolutely, yeah, there's no changes to the blueprints that were submitted from the past. I actually thought when I turned the application, there was all I did was turn in this about the demolition, and she needed me to resubmit everything that I had submitted before. I've been confused the whole time as to what we were talking about.
But we do need to redo this, if this has already been approved, it's already been approved.
We are required procedurally, though, I think, Jan, can correct me, when there is a demolition, we have to approve what's going back in its place. So from a procedural standpoint, I think the motion on the floor could be to approve COA 22-114 as set forth in the application, and that it, assuming you all will agree to this condition, which I think you would, that it will conform to the COAs that were approved previously related to this property. If that makes sense.
Well, I think as the elevation and the materials that you were submitted.
Yeah, as set forth in that written material.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, I had no intention to change anything, was ever.
I just think it makes
Let
it,
me clarify, because I know it is confusing. Demolition is not just a whole structure. Demolition is any portion of a structure. In your guidelines, demolition has to be attached to new construction, because the design guidelines, they don't want you to demolish something and just have a vacant lot. It's basically designed that you want to have something that's new construction associated with it, so you don't have vacant lots all over the historic district. So that's where we are, so that's where the confusion is, and we're trying to clean up the process a little bit by saying it's any portion of a structure. So that's where we are, and that's where we're going to continue to go with this. So, yeah, so there'll always be with the demo, there's going to be a new construction attached to it.
so even though,
Okay.
if that makes sense to you all, does that make sense more?
I want to be sure, Mr. Porteous,
I
that
think so.
you do understand this, because you had said, I don't understand, so I want to be sure that
I
you're clear.
understand, I can't say that I understand exactly, there's a lot to unpack there, but I do understand why it has to be separated out. From a contractor's perspective, when you're changing headers and everything, I'm kind of hard to wrap your brain around what's the difference, but, it's really.
So you don't have to understand the sausage making here, but you have to understand what you've agreed to, which is to put.
I guess so, with Jan bringing up the idea that if it's 70%.
Okay, so we'll talk about the zoning regulations after the meeting. I just want to make you aware of that. But I think we're getting so far off. I think if you all are okay with the new construction, I think it's time for a vote on that, Suzanne. Because we can talk procedure, and I can assure you the procedures are going to be tightened up. So we're gonna get, I think you need to take a vote on the new construction as presented on the elevation with the materials that were submitted.
All right, I will make a motion for COA 22-114, that it does comply with NC 7. My motion is based on the applicant's file and testimony and evidence as presented at this HRB meeting. And the findings of fact are that it does comply with NC 7, that the wall should be built back the same as what was removed. And NC 8, that the attached design is what was previously approved at this board.
So is that a condition?
That's part of the motion, though.
Yes,
Condition.
a condition that the wall be put back.
I think that's part of the record, it's already
Yeah,
evident.
consistent with what has been approved
Yeah.
before.
Consistent with the plans that we approved before.
Second.
And do you all,
All in favor?
do you understand those conditions?
It's
Yes.
formality, that's called
Okay.
condition, yes, you're
Okay.
calling it new construction now, I guess, but.
Yes.
Okay.
My question is, was, when the roof thing happened, was that called new construction? That's the part of it I'm still struggling with, but really, I don't have anything to do
Call me
with this.
tomorrow and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I
We'll
don't,
go over the procedures.
I don't really have any
Okay.
choice in the matter, do I? I mean, I'm just here to,
Well, if you don't understand or don't agree with the application, then I guess you take your application back. I mean.
no,
I want
you're
to-
saying she asked me if I approve the condition, but there really is no condition. It's-
There's not, but they're calling it a condition, so I'm just making sure you understand.
Yeah, I guess I understand that much.
Well, it's, so, maybe this clears it up. You're being approved to redo this thing, but the condition is that it has to conform with what you presented here.
Well, and I think it's honestly not a condition, he submitted the application with that
Yeah.
elevation, so it's really not a condition.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm at.
His application is
Well, they're calling it a
Yeah,
condition of
well,
the project.
yeah, I think it's as submitted, so
Okay.
I think we can move on.
Yeah, we can move on.
Well, we need to vote, so.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. So that has been unanimously approved for the new construction, 22-114, and as you know, please wait for city council's final determination.
And Susan, I need to make an announcement with that. So, there is a potentially, thing coming up with city council that they may cancel their meeting on the 27th. So potentially you will get your certificates after January 10th, which will be the next city council meeting. So they may or may not have that meeting. If they do have it, I will give them to you after the first of the year. If not, it'll have to be after January 10th for city council to meet to approve this. That's for everybody. Okay?
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I think you're free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next on the agenda is 22-115. Again, the request to demolish a wall on part of the roof at 114 West Broadway Avenue. Would you state your name again for the record, please?
My name is Dan Grimm. I'm the project architect.
Okay, and we did have testimony on the demolition application. Is there any,
Now, I'm happy to explain the project if you want me to walk you through it. I mean, it's a little, I don't think it's overly complicated, but anytime you look at a set of drawings, you're looking at a little set, maybe a little.
So you all are wanting to go with option 2 without the cupola, is that correct?
That's correct. I knew there were two.
Right, we simplified with the second version.
there's a problem with sound, so
We were just saying we're going with option 2, which is the less ornate version. It's the one without the cupola and without the Chippendale railing.
okay, thank you.
So I had some questions with the new construction based on your plans.
Okay.
One, let me see, is that you have the columns, so what are the columns in the front of your house again? They are, in the very front, they're round?
In the front, they're round, and in the back, they're square.
Okay, in the back, they're square.
Mhm.
Okay, is that on an addition current, they're on the back porch square?
Back porch square.
Okay, and you are wanting to do 10-inch square fiberglass columns at the addition for the new construction?
On the back.
And it will have a base cap and trim, correct?
It will.
Okay. And then the windows are gonna be aluminum clad wood windows, correct?
Correct,
Wood casing,
correct. Well, simulated wood.
simulated divided, which means STL.
Well, no, I'm sorry. The wood casing is probably like a Hardy product or a Boral product. So it's painted, but it's not, it won't be wood.
Okay,
I just want to be clear. I don't want to
okay,
mislead anybody.
thank you for that, I
Uh-huh.
appreciate the clarification. It says the step flashing trim to be refinished aluminum color to match the roof. So could you describe that a little bit for me?
What was the question one more time? Sorry.
It said all exposed step flashing trim to be
Oh, okay.
finished aluminum color to match the roof.
We won't end up having any step flashing that'll be visible. There will be step flashing, but it'll be tucked underneath the siding. So whenever you have a one-story roof that runs into a two-story wall, you have that segment where the flashing is there. So sometimes people will use like a beer can flashing that's like a cheap aluminum that'll stand out. So this is a note just to clarify with the builder that when we use that flashing, that I want them to use a flashing color that blends with the roof line, so you don't see a shadow line difference of the color.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
So the roof is metal, it's a pre-finished metal, standing seam. Now, part of the reason why that's metal, you might say, well, why is it metal? The roof is shingles right now, but we can't match the shingles anymore because of COVID. They don't make any of the special shingles. They have a special dimensional shingle that's a kind of like a diamond shingle that's only a few years old.
5 years ago, put it on there.
No, we don't make it.
No, so we might have done the addition as shingle, and then the very back piece might have been metal. That would be probably preferred because it's, now we've had 3 different products if we did it that way. So,
And you're doing the siding in the Hardy
the
plank?
siding will be hardy, the profile will all match.
And it'll be the smooth side?
Smooth,
Okay.
yeah, non-textured.
And then, all windows to be aluminum clad wood windows with
Sure.
low E argon
Filled,
glazing.
right.
So will that be tinted in any way?
No, well,
Okay.
the low E has a little coating, just a little bit, it takes the visible, they call the VT, visible transmittance, it'll take it from, I mean, it takes it down a little bit, but low E is what you have to use now for energy code, so I mean, every window has it. So it's, you wouldn't hardly notice it, I'm not gonna tell you that it doesn't have a coating, because that's what it's just, it's not tinted, it's not like sunglasses, they have tinted windows as well, but this is not. I know I'm kinda getting into the weeds, but.
Okay. And then I also have the foundation walls to be continuous pour. So that's gonna be poured concrete for the
No.
foundation walls?
Footers are, the
Yeah.
foundation's gonna be blocked.
Is it gonna be block? Okay, so I think there was some debate whether we're gonna do
Yeah.
thin block on top
We're
or.
gonna do the block that like you see, it's like on the other, like on Scarlet Field's edition,
Got it.
got the texture to them.
That's what I thought, and that's what I was double checking here. I thought we had discussed
I
that.
didn't know if you could get that product or not. You can have it, okay.
Okay. So you're wanting to go with the square columns at and the back, and then, you're wanting new aluminum clad French doors, that will be 7 to 8 SDO grills per elevation. How many of those are we wanting with the French doors?
We just had 4 French doors. There's 2, I mean, if you look at the rear elevation, you can see there's a French door, then there's 2 single doors.
Okay.
Right, in the same.
Then, this was number 12 on sheet notes. New 3/4 glass mahogany entry door to replace existing front door.
We're not.
Okay,
They're pulling that from
That's
pulling that from the application.
okay, we're pulling that, great, that's what I was double checking.
Well, and there was something else that said the front entry was being affected.
No,
Front and, we pulled that as well. There was talk about, hey, there's 2 doors on the porch, and we were talking about maybe doing
Because
a
then
little.
that, you would be altering the front.
right,
Right.
we're just gonna set it up on the inside.
That's a good question, I forgot we had that.
And also another question I had, the addition is coming off the side.
It's mostly in the back,
Right.
mostly in the back, but
So
it,
where is it coming off of the side?
okay, so if you, it's behind the two-story part. So, you almost have to look at the site plan and see, I know it's itty-bitty. If you look at the site plan, and look where I've got the words existing two-story residence, and look just to the right of that, if you zoom in, it's just a little, like a 16-inch bump out. Just a very small,
And that's where I was having trouble, I couldn't.
This is the two-story.
Right.
Here.
Right,
Right here is the existing porch, this is all just new concrete blocks, the rest of the house is the old big rocks.
Yes. yes.
This part here is the porch that was there that's covered in the sheet iron historical drawings. So this is the area that he's referring to right here, from here, here, and this is all new, this is getting redone, there, it gets stepped out just a little bit, and then it gets done, and then we move her back, and this all gets taken off, this, all that.
Okay, right. Okay, so on the side, it's, how much do you think?
it's rolling about 16 inches.
16 inches, okay.
It allows us to do a new foundation that's historic and do the taller roof line and give a little
We already
bit of
have
square footage.
Sticking out, if you look at the house from the front,
Mm-hmm.
we have a protrusion at a 45-degree angle, we ain't coming out past that.
Those are my questions, you may have some more. I can look at you, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I'm looking. So it mentions proposed stone-clad knee wall with 6-foot wood privacy fence above. We don't have enough information to approve that.
Okay, that's fine, we can come back to that.
Okay, great.
Yep, that's a fence in the back, and I think part of that was for the contractor to bid somewhat more so than
Okay, great.
historic right now,
So we're not doing any fencing, and then there's remove an existing walk to allow for a new walk. We're not doing that tonight either, right?
I think it just depends on if I think we could do it tonight, but if you don't want us to, we don't have to.
I need materials and what it would look like.
Okay,
Yeah, so I didn't have enough information for that.
okay, we can mark that.
Okay. I knew we didn't have enough information for the wall too. I just wanted to make sure that
Right,
we were clear
right.
on what we were approving.
Again, some of that was bid-oriented things for the contractor to tell us what the price would be.
Wonderful, that was most of my concerns.
So I think that we have talked about the new addition, but we have not talked about the demolishing the wall. Is it? I mean, we talked about that in the public hearing. So do you think that you have enough information, board members, to vote on the demolition?
Yeah, basically, the addition is just going to eat that.
100%. Your appearance when it's done, obviously is an addition, and the eave line will be taller, so I mean, it's going to be consistent. It won't, I know in the guidelines it says, will this adversely affect the neighborhood, and it will not. If anything, it brings that eave line up to where it should have been built 50 years ago. And again, you could make a case and say the demo's gonna be done once it's already constructed, just to keep the water out. But I don't know if the contractor's exactly gonna build it that way, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if we get approved, I mean, it would be easier on us to take it down and then, instead of building a wall around the wall and have to take it down and carry it out and somebody getting hurt, but if that's what we gotta do, we gotta do it that way, but realistically, it would be easier to take it down and put it right back.
I'll try it.
Give it a try.
All right, I'll move to approve COA, 22.
115.
115.
Yes.
Based on the following findings, conforms with D3 in the historic review board alterations. The demolition doesn't, affect the historic character of the home. It's a newer addition, that's mentioned in D4. And basically, this was something that was added on to the historic home a few years ago, but it's not part of the historic character of the house. And necessary for that to go to allow for the new addition to be put on.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, wow.
So you have a unanimous consensus here for the demolition as described in the application and the discussion that we've had. And as Riche said, we'll have to wait for city council to make the final confirmation, and she will let you know about that. So then we can move right on to 22-116, the addition that we have just been discussing in conjunction with the demolition. Are there other questions, or are we ready to make a motion?
I think I'm ready to make a motion.
Right.
Make a motion to approve COA 22-116. My motion is based on applicant's filing testimony and evidence as presented in this meeting tonight. And based on your filing testimony and the following findings, that this would be new construction. It would be NC 4, 6, 9, 26, and 35. That would be the materials, the size and the height, the roof materials, and the foundation. Everything would comply with those guidelines.
Second.
Is there, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Another unanimous decision, thank you very much. COA 22-117, Smile Doctors applicants. Could you state your name for the record, please? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, we were just, I haven't met her in person, so I was saying it's nice to meet you in person.
Let's change the, they told me I met my quota. It's looking great. Thank you.
So this is an application to install new signs at 208 North 2nd Street.
That's correct.
The signs meet the city guidelines. We'd like to hear about the material for the sign and any lighting for the sign to be discussed.
There's no lighting, it's basically like for like. The existing sign has wood posts, and it has an 1.5 inch redwood panel. We would just be putting more wood posts back in with a aluminum panel double-sided vinyl graphics.
And part of this question, I just want to clarify because you asked me and I wasn't for sure.
Right.
So B2 on the sign application that's 2 square feet is going to be removed, correct?
I guess so, because we're only allowed 2 signs, and they have the one on the side of the building as well. So yeah, they'll just take that wall back out.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So there will be just
2 signs.
the 2 signs.
That's right, yeah. They wanted a wall plaque for the entrance door, just kind of as a directional piece, I believe, but since we're not allowed that, then that's fine. So they have 2 existing ones right now, they're faded and just old. The wood post there, the ants have eaten it, so we wood puttied it to death, so it's time for it to be
A new sign.
a new sign, so. But they'll be white instead of that.
If there are no further questions, do you have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve COA 22-117. My motion is based on the following, findings: that the materials discussed and presented here in the meeting meet our sign guidelines. And
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
I
Aye. All right, thank you very much. If you would, just wait till the city council approves the final approval.
All right, will
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So 22118. Another request for additional signage.
They are not here.
All we got left is Ken.
Yeah, they're not here, so, there's two options. So there was some issues with the signage, with the sign guidelines with this particular one. So the only two options, I guess, correct Audrey, are to deny or to table. Is that right, Jen? Yeah.
I mean,
I
unless you're,
mean, just, that- so you have issues with it, you don't.
you can approve it,
questions?
but
Yes, we have questions with it.
Okay.
Let's say that we have issues with this. So I don't think we want to.
Were they addressed with the applicant before the
Yes,
meeting?
I contacted her and went to visit her personally.
And was she supposed to submit something back to you before the meeting, or?
I requested that, but she did not contact me.
well, I wouldn't say it's complete then. I mean, I think, wouldn't you say it's incomplete at this point then?
Yes.
Yeah, I would table it until your January
we
meeting.
need a motion for that.
Yes.
I move to, table COA 22-118 because we have incomplete information. The representative is not here.
I just, yeah, okay.
Second, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All in favor? So, 119.
Is that clear confusing?
Yeah.
I'm representing her. You wanna do this one out? Can we do this one if there's only?
I don't think we can because
I won't have a quorum, okay?
You have to table it till next month.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to table COA 22-119.
I don't even think I guess we have
Can we
to,
do that?
You can't, because you can't vote.
you don't have a quorum to even vote on it, so I think it just has to be,
It just has to move on.
it has to be, there's no quorum for it, so it has to just be passed to the next meeting.
Right, so,
Give them the prize.
we will
Last
pass
16.
22-119 until the next meeting, when we have a quorum on this matter, for this matter. Thank you. 22-100 amended. So, request to amend the design of 112 West Broadway.
Yes, so, we've got a new paint color that we're gonna try out, for the side and the trim.
Okay, would you just state your name for the record, please? I'm sorry.
Kim Conway.
Thank you.
And number two is, we had to make a window a little bit smaller for the location of our steps. There's still another window that was already on the house that we used. So it's just a little bit smaller in height on the side of the house. That's number two, that second picture. The third picture, I've gotten with Frank Welch and asked that he make a window for me that go on the side of the house, so you will not be able to see it from the front facing of the road, but it's really just to let more light in that front room that we have. It has a diamond grid in it. I'm open to suggestions if you don't necessarily like that, but it's, it's about 32" by 17, so it's not a big window, and it'll just kind of set up on that side where the change is I found some doors. They are wood doors. They have glass. I'm asking to paint them black on the outside. It'll be the same for the front door and the back door. Originally, I found a door similar, but it had 4 divided lights. This one just has a single glass. And 5 is to replace that side door of the balcony. Right now, it's just an aluminum door. To do 2 wooden French true divided light doors. They will just be stained with a clear coat on them. So those are kind of the little changes that I've had that were different from what I asked the first time.
And this new color is for what again, Kim?
The whole house and the trim around the windows.
And this is the paint color proposed. I know you can't see it in my applications, my scanner doesn't get
Right.
the true
I
color.
saw that, and I didn't know if that was the trim color, and you were still gonna go with the pink.
Yeah, no, the pink got vetoed by my husband, so, we're
You
gonna
said,
stick with
but
this.
you said if we approved it,
I
we would
know,
have
I
to use it.
know, I know, it was a victory here, not a victory there, but, so, that's what it is for now. We'll
So none of the windows are on the historic portion of the house, correct? They're not on the portion that's being addition, so they're not on the addition, or they all are on the addition, I'm sorry.
They all are on the addition.
Okay.
So where is
Let me
this
make
diamond
sure.
pattern? I can't place where it would be.
I know, I thought that would be hard, so,
Under the front,
the new little porch,
right, where you all put the stairs,
so if you're walking in the front door, just right there on the left.
where the existing door was.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, there was a door there.
there was a door there, yes.
So, right there, and it would sit up high, you know, just to kind of let light flow into that room, because it got a lot darker when
When
we
you closed
took
it in.
those doors away. And I thought this would give both privacy, but look, you know, look good there.
So that window would be on the historic part of the house. Okay, that window.
It's on the new addition though. So that addition came out a little bit further, and so it's actually being placed on the addition, correct?
Well, it's where that door was, so I guess it is it's the older portion of the house, because it's on this side. So the new addition came this way,
Okay,
and so it's like in that little corner of the old addition.
okay.
That was probably an addition on the house at one time anyway. I don't know the age of that part of the house.
No, not if I'm understanding, so you're looking at the house, and then your addition comes up here, and your addition just steps forward from where it was.
Yes.
But this that you're talking about is here, right?
It
This
was
is,
the side of the porch where you walked in, that was the door on the side.
I don't know if the diamond pattern would be in historic keeping or not, I don't know.
I'm looking. So it says, do not alter the number, size, location, or shape of the original window seen from a public way by making new window openings or permanently blocking existing openings. That's under regular window guidelines 15 for historic windows.
Well, this was a door.
There was a door there, yes.
So the door is no longer, but the window is a replacement.
Is it facing a public way or is it facing?
It's a side, it's on the side.
It'd be facing the alley on the side where you drop down.
Locate any new window openings that may be required for a new use on an elevation that cannot be seen from a public way. That's W16.
Is a public way, I guess, an alley.
Mm-mm.
Strally is not a public way.
No,
No.
just the street.
Just
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wrote down something, no windows, but you didn't remove it, but you did relocate some of them, but.
Yes, we've used everything that's already been there window wise.
but it's not visible from the street, and it's not.
not for the front row, no.
Yeah.
My only question was the diamond pattern. I don't know how I feel about that, if that's historic or.
I'm open to other suggestions, I just didn't necessarily want it to have nothing. I wanted to
Right.
have a little.
So light would come in that part of
That
it.
light could come through.
I'm open for suggestions.
So it's diamond pattern.
I'm ready.
Kim, do you have to have that done tonight, or is it something they can pass on until you get additional information? on that element?
I don't necessarily want to have to come back, but I don't mind for me and Rashay to hash that out.
I'm not sure she has staff level approval on that.
No, I don't.
So I wanna make sure I'm understanding the board's question. So it sounds like Rashay, the guidelines would allow for this window of this size to be placed on the side of the home because it is not facing the street. The question is about whether this pattern is appropriate.
That's my question.
Okay,
So W14, use surviving prototypes to reconstruct missing window elements such as architecture, hood mounts, sash, sills, or interior exterior shutters and blinds. Reconstructed elements should be constructed of materials which there is a historic precedent or a complete substitute material if that is not possible. Compatible substitute material, excuse me.
I guess that's my question. I don't know if this is a compatible material.
I would say because it's not on the house historically, that it's not.
Would you be open to a grid, just plain?
Just a
I
plain window.
would, yes.
Okay.
But I'm just one person.
Would,
No, that sounds better to me too.
Okay.
But do you know what you're approving? That's a question I have procedurally. Do you know what the grid, what it's gonna look like in dimensions and?
when you say grid, are we talking about like muttons?
Yeah, I think you need to know exactly what,
It would be the same size as was proposed, correct? Correct, I mean, she has a size here.
32 by 17.
Yes, I saw it.
And instead of having grids, it would just be an open window.
Well, she's up
No
there.
grid.
No, she,
I'm thinking of like a true divided light where you have 6 panels,
It's like 3 over 3,
3.
3 over 3.
right?
Yeah.
6 altogether.
Yeah, so 17 by 32.
And Rashay, would that be what Ms. Conway is describing, is that consistent with what would be appropriate for the house, a true divided 3 over 3 window, or?
She has 9/9 windows currently, so if they were grilled and true divided, I think that would be, and wood, I think that would be consistent with the house
Okay.
for a smaller window to be installed.
Kim, do you understand what?
I do
Okay, just
understand.
make sure, okay.
Just gotta make a note to myself for the record.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I asked Kim if she understood, and she said she's making a note to herself. I don't know if that was the part you
Okay.
missed.
That was the part I didn't understand. Okay, yeah. Because
I knew you didn't either.
we have the discretion to approve these type of windows, so.
And the front and the back door styles are consistent?
Yes.
Okay. And the upstairs?
And they are solid wood doors, right, Kim?
Yes.
They're solid wood doors that are true divided.
Yes.
And then the
Which, if you remember, the doors that she replaced were aluminum.
yeah, they were clad.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Is, this is number 7, so this doesn't go with landscaping, but there was a window on the back of the house that we took and moved to the side of the house because of the kitchen layout, because there's a stove going there and the kitchen sink's gonna be on the side of the house. They're the same exact, width and length and type of windows. We just moved the location from the rear of the home to the side
And
for
is
number
that,
7.
is that on now the historic portion of the home?
So, yes,
It is on the historic portion of the home. Okay, with that one, we still have Is that visible from the public way?
No, it's in the very back,
Okay.
side of the home.
Because W15, I was gonna state, doesn't alter the number, size, location, or shape of original window seen from a public way. So don't alter that. So if it is not visible from a public way, then it should not meet that criteria.
So do we have a motion?
I will attempt it.
And this is 100 amended, it is not 119.
Correct, yes. I make a motion to approve COA 22-100 amended. My motion is based on the applicant's file and testimony at this meeting tonight. Make the following findings of fact and condition that the relocation of the windows, the paint, the doors, all fall under NC 13 and NC 15. And we have made a condition, I suppose, or we have changed the diamond patterned window to a standard 3/3 grid window.
So it's the same size.
Same size, yes. That is in this application.
That would be wood and true divided.
Wood and true divided, yes. The house color has been changed to the intricate ivory. And what am I missing? Is that it?
I think that's,
The doors,
The front and back doors, and then the doors on the second floor, the replacement doors are approved under W1, W15, something like that. I can't find it right now. I think
Probably W15.
W15.
Yes,
I think
W15.
W15. I think that's covered it.
have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that 22-100 amended is approved. And we have to talk about 22-119, and that is the add new landscaping and remove old landscaping at 211 West Flagey Avenue.
No, this is 112, this is 120.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Flash
apologize.
Avenue.
120 landscaping. Yeah.
so the front home, there's currently no landscaping, there was a little tree there that we asked to remove last time, you guys said okay to. So I just wanna put in some boxwoods and emerald greens, as you can see in that picture, kind of flanking each side, and then down the side, I'd like to put in hydrangeas. In the back to kind of line the alley, in the back, also, emerald greens there.
And I think the only question we had was if the emerald greens would get too big.
I went and looked at that today. You'll be fine with those, but you need to get them a little bit away from that power line. So you've got a power line that goes right. You probably need to get 6 feet off the alley there, and you'll miss those.
Okay.
So, I mean, that would be the only thing I'm just cautioning you to do, otherwise someday you're gonna have an issue.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that would also help with your line of sight. So are you wanting to put them down the side, so you go down the alley and you meet that back alley? Or you want to go down this side too?
Yes, and all in the rear and on the side.
Okay. I think if you do need to hold them back off that alley to keep from, so that when you pull out there, when somebody pulls through there, they can see. And then you'd also be getting into power lines if you didn't do that.
Okay.
That was the only thing I see wrong with the plan, is just that you be careful of that.
I think emerald greens go tall.
They'll get 25 feet or so they would get up to those power lines. But they're they're not very fat, so, you know, they, probably 25x6 would be the max they'd ever do.
So is Conway, is that acceptable? I mean, is that something that you're willing to?
I don't mind to go and look at that, the location of where they would be. I just kind of want them to line that side for privacy. So,
The side's not a problem, it's the back line.
the back line.
The very back is where you would be getting, you don't have any power lines down that I remember down the side.
Okay. The
So-
very back of the house.
The very back of the lot, you've got power lines overhead.
Okay.
Are you talking about taking these all the way back to the back of the lot?
You want to
Probably.
close in the whole backyard.
I want it to be pretty private back there where it's kind of open because there's business behind, us in another alley. So just trying to make it a little bit more private.
Yeah, because the only thing we was here on the application were 2 emerald greens that I saw.
That was.
Well, that was on the front of the house.
And then it says,
It has a number, it says line the side / back alley with the picture of the, I guess, emerald green bushes or whatever they're called.
Yeah, she's got that on page 6. Kind of showing what she's
I was
going to
way
do
down
right
at the
there.
bottom. I didn't-
Yeah.
okay.
And it's actually doing the same thing. And those emeralds on that photo are way farther off the pavement than 6 feet.
okay. This is where the plan and then go with it.
Yeah. Okay, I move to approve. Do you have any other questions?
No.
You? I move to approve COA 22-120. Motion based on the following findings: that the landscaping is appropriate for the structure, and the screening in the back is fine. The only condition would be that the emerald bodies on the back property line be at least 6 feet from the alley to avoid power lines.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have approval for the landscaping of 22-120. Please wait for city council approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just have a question.
Hold on a second. Susan.
What happened?
Sorry. So the condition is the emerald greens will be 6 feet from the real property line, correct?
From the alley on the back.
But that main concern is just to address the power line.
Power line, that will also, keep you from having a line of sight problem.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my question is, what happened to 118?
They weren't here.
Okay.
They weren't here and.
No, I'm sorry, 119, sorry.
Oh, that was the one where, Mr. Kipper was would be representing the applicant. We did not have a quorum without him, so.
All right, I didn't write the no quorum thing, I'm sorry, on that agenda. So at this point, we are, was there a provisional staff approval?
No, there was
Tricia?
none. No.
Number 4 on the agenda?
No, there was none.
Okay, so at this point, we would close the regular meeting and move to executive session. Do I have a motion to close the regular meeting?
Well, and Suzanne, to be clear, we have to make a motion pursuant to this specific section of the Kentucky Revised Statutes and state why we are going into closed session. Otherwise, we run into an open meetings violation.
Because we do have new business, sorry.
Well, you can do the executive session anytime. I mean, if you wanna pass the executive session to the end and take up the new business first, that's fine.
Let's do that quickly.
Okay.
Okay, so let's continue on with regular hearing. And what is the new business that we have?
So if you recall at the last meeting with the guidelines, I didn't get a chance to speak. And Rachel Kennedy wanted me to come to you with my concerns because she wanted your input. So this is my time to come to you with my concerns. My main concern was demolition. Under her section 15.1.4 on page 178 of the new guidelines that's proposed. Are you having fun? It says, under non-emergency conditions, demolition shall only be approved if more than one of the following conditions are met. And my concern with that is, one of those is that we review new construction plans for the property, so then only one other criteria would need to be met to assume demolition, and I'm very concerned with that and would like that to be reworded.
What page are you on?
178. So Rachel didn't want me to go forward and change that without talking to you all.
Right. I mean, these are your suggestions, correct?
Yes.
Well,
So
I'm,
how many of these do you have that you need to
Yeah.
go over there with them?
This is the main one.
Okay.
And then
There's
there's
how
only
many?
one other concern.
Okay, I was getting ready to say, is it something that you could do at a working session rather than now, but, so that everybody,
I mean,
are they familiar enough with what you're talking about to be able to make a decision tonight?
no. Can I just say no? I don't think that this is the time to have this discussion.
Well, and
because
I think it's because I saw the look on their faces that maybe there's just some concern as to what it is. So I would recommend just doing another working session where everybody can, unless you need, Kim, I don't know, y'all are on a timeline, but.
No, not
I
really.
mean,
There are only a few of us. I mean, they're not even the whole group here. And I think,
wait, I would really wait.
Okay,
And I think, have you sent this out to them?
yeah, they've got it.
Y'all got it? I
It's
mean,
under-
unless you wanna meet on it, but I just kinda see that there's some concern
Okay,
that I would try to do a working session, Suzanne, maybe to, cause it's already, everybody's kind of glossed over at this point, but.
okay.
no, I agree. And I don't, did you send your concerns to us?
No, Rachel just wanted me to address them at the meeting. She just asked that I address them at the meeting.
Well, let's hold off on that because this takes a little bit of thinking and a little bit of, comparing. And so if we could have your concerns and then we could look them up and then we could have a discussion,
Okay, we can
that'd be
do that.
good.
And then maybe, instead of meeting 2 hours before the next meeting, maybe, a few minutes before the next meeting, or
Yeah.
as part of the next meeting or
Yeah.
something.
Just
15
have a working
minutes
se- Yeah,
before,
a working session is part of your meeting, just to go over these and get it out to them before the meeting, so that they may be able to ask you questions about it, rather than having a lot of discussion at the meeting.
Got it. I can do that. Okay, so that was everything under new business.
Okay, do we have any old business?
No, we do not.
Okay. So shall we adjourn the regular?
So you don't adjourn, so you're not adjourning, sorry. You're gonna ask for a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61-810 subsection 1C.
Can you say that again?
Well, it's on your agenda.
It's right here.
Okay.
You're gonna make a motion and you're gonna read all that part,
Okay.
Here we go.
or you can if you choose.
Okay. I move, that we go into an executive session pursuant to KRS 61, .810, section 1C, discussions of proposed and pending litigation against or on behalf of the public agency.
You got it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Do I start